Looks like I'm going back to my old curriculum. Hi, I'm Jenny with Kids Learning for Life, and it's time to do a mid-year homeschool update. I have a third grader, a first grader, and a toddler. I'm gonna start with my overall thoughts. Ambleside Online is going great for us. We're currently in term 2 of year 2, and we're moving right along. I know right now I kind of need to do more in this time of the year, in the winter, when we're less busy, because I know once we hit April, May, June, with all the things that we have going on, I'm just not gonna have enough time to do Ambleside Online readings. So I'm trying to front load all of that into the winter time when we are less busy. And we've been making some changes in our curriculum lineup, which has been really eye-opening and effective and helpful. So I hope to detail all of those for you so that maybe this will help you in deciding if you should switch curriculums or not. So now we'll break it down subject by subject, and we'll start with language arts. Language arts is where my kids have shown the most growth. Both of my school-aged daughters are reading. Both of them are basically kind of writing on their own. My second daughter, who's in first grade, not so much, but that's something we're working on a lot this year. But I mean, both of them are reading and enjoying reading, which makes me so happy. My oldest daughter just started in the fall taking an English class with some of her friends, and it's been going great. I mean, this is the child who used to, when I asked her to choose a copywork sentence from a book or a passage, she would choose literally a one-word sentence. So she did not like writing before, but she loves this English class that she does with her friends, and she has shown so much growth, and she really enjoys it now. My third grader is also picking up a lot of books that I remember growing up with when I was a kid. So she is getting really close to being done with Where the Red Fern Grows. I really want her to just kind of focus and finish a book so she can have that satisfaction, because she keeps trying to jump to new books. She also just picked up Farmer Boy recently, which she also loves. But I'm like, come on, let's just finish a book so you can have that full experience of reading one of these great classic books. Both of my school-aged kids are definitely out of the explode the code phase, which is fine. And just as something for them to do, I have them both doing Beyond the Code, which is the reading, the reading comprehension version of Explode the Code. And they both enjoy it. I mean, obviously my oldest daughter is in an English class, getting basically all she needs from that one day a week, and then we practice throughout the week on her writing skills. But just for something fun to do, I mean, she enjoys it. She does Beyond the Code. And then my first grader just started Beyond the Code book 1, and she just loves it. So I recommend these if you just kind of want something supplemental that's fun for the kids and easy for them to kind of do independently. And my oldest daughter is into book 2, or grade 2, I should say, of Lightning Literature. We're not using this as much as we were, just because she's in her English class now, and basically the lessons are the exact same that she would be getting from this as she's getting in her writing class. And so I'm kind of not using this as much as I was, but right now, in this time when we're on winter break, right, it's actually a good time to kind of dive into this a little bit. So I'm not trying to over-school my kids, but I do really love this curriculum. It's not something I really want to put to the side completely, but I also don't want to overwhelm her with everything she's doing in her class. So I love Lightning Literature. I love this grade 2 book. I think it's wonderful. The kids get into longer stories, which is great, not just picture books. So we're still going to trek along with this. It's just we're probably going to slow down or maybe skip lessons. Okay, let's move on to math. Math is where the biggest changes have come. So I don't know if you've been following along, but I switched from primary mathematics last year to a free math curriculum that's available online called MEP. MEP is really cool, and I think that it probably would have worked for us if we had started with MEP, which is, it's complicated, but we actually did technically start with it when my oldest daughter was in kindergarten, but the leap from the reception year, which is our equivalent of kindergarten, in that curriculum is a lot different than when you start getting into the actual years of the curriculum. So in the year 1, year 2, year 3, so on. And the way that they teach math is very different than I've ever seen it taught. And it's not in a way that is easy for me to figure out and then explain. And I know they have a really great teacher's guide that goes along with the student pages, but it was all just a little bit much. Like, math lessons were just taking us a little bit too long, and it wasn't aligning with how I like to teach my kids. The catalyst for this whole like epiphany I had about why MEP is not working is I was listening to one of my favorite Charlotte Mason podcasts, which is The New Mason Jar with Cindy Rollins, who I just love. And there was an episode on how to do math in the Charlotte Mason method, and just listening to her and her guests discuss how math should be taught in a Charlotte Mason homeschool, it just really opened my eyes to the fact that we were just kind of struggling through math. We were doing it too long every day. So I switched back to primary mathematics. So because we took such a long break from primary mathematics, my kids are kind of behind, if that's even a thing. But, you know, I think it's fine. It's not like MEP, it's not like they weren't learning anything. It was just a different way of learning math. So we're kind of having to do a little bit of review. Like, there were some things that MEP had not covered at all in this year that we used it, that primary mathematics is just trucking along with. And so I had to get some like supplemental free worksheets online with how to add and subtract like single or double and triple digit numbers, and do the whole like carrying over and the tens and all that stuff. I don't really know the terminology, but I found some really great worksheets, and she got right back into it, and she needed that practice in order to continue with where we were at in primary mathematics before we stopped. But now that we're fully into primary mathematics, I think it's going great. My first grader in particular is just loving it. And I mean, granted, she's in one of the first books. She's in book 1B, and it's pretty simple. She could probably speed along, but she's just sitting there doing it kind of on her own. She's always been my very independent worker, but she just asks to keep doing it. And of course I have to cut her off at some point, but she's just speeding along. I mean, she just started this one. This was a new book to her. I skipped past 1A, which is where she was, and I put her in 1B, and she's doing great. So I think this will be a good fit, especially for her. And my third grader is in book 2A. So she's in third grade, but she's in book 2A. So she's the one who's probably feeling a little bit more of the like feeling behind type thing. Although I don't try to make this very big to the kids. Like, I hope she doesn't realize it's book 2A and she's not in second grade. I mean, with homeschool, none of that stuff really matters anyway, right? So she's in book 2A. She also is kind of speeding along, but you know, in this curriculum, once you get to book 2A, the exercises do get a little harder. So we can't really just like skip past things or anything like that. So I think she's doing great with this as well. And I actually just went to our local homeschool store and I bought the next books that we need. So she's going to be in 2B soon, and then my other daughter will be in 2A. So I'm really glad that I made the switch. I'm really glad that I stumbled upon that podcast episode about math. I think that this was a really good move for us. And of course, I'll keep you updated. I feel like I'm having this epiphany, and I told Stacey about this whole move. I feel like math is just one of these subjects. It's really not a good idea to switch curriculums unless you absolutely have to. Like, I didn't have to switch curriculums before. I just wasn't like loving primary mathematics, but it's not like I had a real grievance with it. So I think that's something I'm going to talk about more with you guys, so stay tuned for that. So next, let's talk about history. And speaking of things that I want to speak more about in future videos, I really want to make a video about why you should ditch your history curriculum. Now, it's kind of a half joke because I really don't think that a lot of history curriculum is really that bad. Like, I legitimately feel like science curriculum, a lot of it is just kind of like a way to make money. And you don't really need it. But history curriculum, I feel like my kids are getting such a rich education in history just by reading living books. History is the one subject that we follow the Ambleside Online schedule to a T, and I just love how they do history. So we have history textbooks kind of things, but they still feel like storybooks. So these are things like Our Island Story, This Country of Ours, and A Child's History of the World. And then we have biographies that make it really living, really rich, really put you in that place of a specific time in history as seen by a certain person in history. The history biographies that we're reading this year are The Little Duke and Joan of Arc. And so far, I mean, we're almost done with The Little Duke, and we'll be starting Joan of Arc very soon because my kids are just so excited to start it. And we started The Little Duke, and my kids really didn't like it. And now that we're at the end of the book, the girls are like, I do not want this book to end. So I think they're just loving having history taught to them in this kind of way. And I kind of feel like this is how history should be taught. Like, it should be fun. It should be immersive. It should be very living. And I just feel like a lot of history curriculums don't really do that. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. So we are doing the history readings, which we love. And of course we do narrations after each reading, just so I know kind of what my kids are taking away from each history lesson. Okay, let's talk about science. Science is a subject, as I have already said, in which I do not use a curriculum. I haven't even used mystery science yet this year, which is the one science curriculum that I would consider using and I enjoy. I mean, I put it in air quotes, the word curriculum, because it's really just like science videos. Like, you could find any sort of science video on YouTube if you really wanted to. I just like that mystery science has it all kind of put together, and the videos are really well done. But I haven't even really used that at all this year. What we've been doing, I mean, we just watch nature documentaries. Like, if my kids are watching TV, typically it'll be some sort of like we use the Disney Plus app, and they'll just be on National Geographic and they'll choose some sort of nature documentary. Like, lately they've been into, there's like a series of like World's Deadliest, and they were really into the snakes episode. So that was cool. And we watch all sorts of veterinarian shows. I mean, we're huge fans of Dr. Pol, and we also have been watching Critter Fixers, which we just love. And then of course my kids do science around our property with all of our animals. I mean, I've really tried to move a lot of the responsibility to them as far as taking care of all the animals. I just simply don't have the time to do it all myself. And my kids, I mean, my older kids are 7 and 8. They can do all the stuff I do basically. So I'm just, you know, enjoying doing science naturally and kind of doing like an interest-led type thing, but it's really not something I even have to facilitate. Okay, now we've covered the core subjects. Let's talk about extracurriculars. Finally, the soccer season ended, and I love soccer, you guys. Like, I love soccer. I love watching my kids play soccer. I love being super involved. It's really important to me. I mean, I grew up playing soccer, but the soccer season, I mean, my kids were on separate teams, although with the same coach, luckily. But, you know, they're on separate teams. It was always early morning games on Saturdays, not even like 9 a.m. They were always at 8 a.m. And then they had their practices. They had 2 practices a week. So it was 3 days a week kind of dedicated to soccer. And that's a little bit much, especially with a toddler in tow, and especially with me working full time and also doing Kids Learning for Life. Like, I've just been neglecting everything in my life during soccer season. So I'm glad that it's over for now. I needed a break. But I'm really excited for them to start that again in the late summer, early fall. One new thing that I'm working on getting my kids signed up for is karate. We did a lot of swimming this past summer, and I promised the girls if they both learned to swim and became really comfortable in the water, that I would sign them up for something fun like karate. So they've been, after soccer that is done, that is, because I could not do soccer and karate at the same time. So I'm working on getting them signed up. I feel like in January, I'll be able to like breathe again and kind of have them do something new. So I think that will be really cool. And luckily we have a really good karate studio not that far from us. Sorry, I just called it a karate studio. I don't think that's what that's called. So that's something we'll learn. And then of course, the main extracurricular that we do is like all of our music and performance-based stuff. So it's piano. We have weekly private piano lessons with a lovely piano instructor who we love. And then we have choir and drama, which is like an all-day event once a week, and the girls will be in the play Alice in Wonderland, which will be fun. And then obviously they have all their choir songs. My oldest daughter is actually also continuing with handbell choir, which she did last semester too, and it was a great exercise in helping her read sheet music, and I think she did great. So she's gonna continue with that. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of continue along and just kind of throw the karate in there too. All in all, I'm really happy with how this school year is going. Sure, we've had roadblocks, we've had busy soccer season, trying to fit in as many Amplify Online readings now as opposed to later in the spring when we get busy. Like there's all sorts of things. Like I just feel like there's never a normal homeschool day or a normal homeschool season. It's all just constantly changing and kind of rearranging to fit our schedule. But it's growing great. Like I have no complaints. My kids are making progress. The charter school system is working well for us right now, and I have no complaints. Plus, I can't discount the fact that we're having fun doing school. I don't think any of the stuff we're doing is really a drag right now. And so yeah, it's easy to get through lessons when you're having fun doing it. Since I'm switching back to primary mathematics, I thought you might want to learn more about this wonderful math curriculum. So I will be linking to it right over here. This is my video review that I did last year of primary mathematics. See you next time, and happy homeschooling.